Hello everyone, welcome back to Touch the Fire Twice. I'm Joshua and I'm here today to do an in-depth sniff review and mini haul of two candles from the Bath & Body Works Netflix Stranger Things collaboration. But before we dig into that, if you're new to Touch the Fire Twice, welcome. My mission here is to share my love and passion for fine home fragrance as an enthusiast, an educator, a reviewer, to inspire you to increase your own fragrance knowledge and understanding, ultimately enhancing the scent memories that you create. If you want to learn more about what I do, why I do it, how I do it, you can check out my website at touchthefiretwice.com and go give me a follow over on Instagram, also at TouchTheFireTwice. But for now, let's dig into this Stranger Things haul and review. So branded collaborations are fairly new for Bath & Body Works. I don't know, in fact, if we've really seen any. With this, they're doing a collaboration with Netflix, which the details are somewhat mum. We don't know much about them or how long it is, but I think there were murmurings that it was a at least year-long or multi-year agreement. And so in the late winter, early spring, we saw the Bridgerton collaboration. You can see my review here of a couple of those candles. Hit or miss for me, nothing that was really a slam dunk. And then Stranger Things, there are 4 candles with rumors of more products or things to come at a point to be announced. And I would say overall with the idea of the branded collaborations, I think there's the opportunity for those to be interesting. But my issue with it is, at least in the candles for Bridgerton and in Stranger Things, they have candles that are typically at the $26.95 price range. And because they are branded, part of this collaboration, they come at the $29.95 price point. And we've seen, especially in fall Halloween 2024, a lot of different pricing mechanisms, you know, $29, $32, $36, $39, $59 for one online exclusive candle with what seems like a snow globe, but no water or snow, figurine on top of the candle as the candle topper. So based on lids, we've seen more expensive candles, which most of the time, I don't think necessarily makes sense, but when they're super complex, like the snake for Halloween and things like that, okay, it makes sense, that would cost more. I would rather they just sell those as separate toppers that someone could purchase if they want them, but I don't decorate with candles and I don't need it to have a decorative lid. I appreciate if it's, you know, a colored lid or something that has maybe a pattern on it that doesn't increase the price of the candle, fine. It's aesthetically pleasing that way, but I don't ever want to pay $32, $40, whatever for a candle, especially now that we're seeing candles above $32.95 not being part of sales when it comes to the all-in $12.95 or $14.95 candle pricing, only part of the $10 off, which who wants to pay $26 or $30 for a single candle at Bath & Body Works? Not me, certainly. And so these coming in at $29.95 make even less sense because it truly is just, I guess, you know, $3 extra per sale are going to Netflix as part of their deal for the collaboration, because the fragrances and the packaging and the lids, at least for these first two Bridgerton and Stranger Things collaborations, are not anything beyond typical when it comes to the standard $26.95 price point candle. So that's my little kind of mini rant on the branding, the marketing, the price of it. Not a fan of that. And also the fragrances haven't been anything truly unique or special in my mind. Are they really putting their best fragrances forward or just their best marketing forward? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. All that to say, getting into the two candles that I purchased. So I purchased the Steve's Scoops as well as the Argyle's Pineapple Pizza. The other two in this collection I did not purchase. I have really no interest in. One of them is that Hopper's Coffee, and it essentially is, and maybe literally is, Paris Cafe. I've learned to like that fragrance over the years. I have 1 or 2 of those. I actually had no need for it within the branded packaging, even at the $12.95 sale. And then the 11's Waffles really comes down to perhaps the most artificial smelling type of bakery. I almost don't want to call it gourmand because calling that a gourmand is almost an insult to gourmand fragrances in my mind, because it really smells like artificial. Now granted, that candle is supposed to be frozen waffles because the character 11 in Stranger Things loves frozen waffles. Cute, but it leans confectionery, artificial, dare I say, like the things I didn't like about the Goose Creek candles when I reviewed their Hocus Pocus 2 collection close to 2 years ago now. You can watch the video here if you want to. I was not thrilled with them, to be entirely honest, as I always am. But that waffle candle didn't smell like a rich, warm waffle, which I'm already on kind of the border of whether I want something to smell like straight up breakfast food. A bakery item, something gourmand, bakery adjacent, I like oftentimes, but if it's something that's so specific, like some of these brands are now doing like Hostess snack cakes and things, do those really smell good? Do they even taste good? They might taste okay if you're like hard up for a sugar rush, but they're not delicious, let's be honest. And they don't have much of a scent, typically. It's not like you're going to a beautiful bakery where they're making these scratch-made incredible pastries. And so the idea of the candle, I wasn't interested in, and smelling it, it really, like most reviewers have said, it is very heavy on the syrup, buttery gooey side with a little bit of waffle in the background. And butter, I mean, does butter smell good to anyone? Really? Like, yeah, sure, it tastes good when it's on a waffle or pancakes. I will tear up pancakes, don't get me wrong. I'm not above eating them. But butter doesn't really smell good. It doesn't have much of a fragrance unless it's a fat, it's a vehicle for other fragrances, other scents. When you're cooking with onions or you're cooking with cinnamon or whatever, it's gonna elevate and have that flavor literally travel across your tongue through the fat molecules. So do I want a candle that's heavy on butter and some syrup? I don't. If you do, wonderful. That's great for you. I'm not judging. I just don't like it. And so didn't purchase that one. So it left me with these two, which frankly, were not must-haves. There are times as reviewers, I think, well, you'll hear from, all of us, Kent the Candle Channel, Bonnie, Queen of the Girl Geeks, everyone else out there as well, that you're sometimes buying something more for review purposes because folks want to hear your thoughts on it. And I never buy something that I'm actively disliking unless it's terrible, like a mashed potatoes candle that's almost just fun to review. But it's kind of like, these weren't exactly what I wanted, but I was interested. They're good enough. I'll burn them or I'll give them away. And that's where I ended up with these two. So let's first dig into, I think the one that was maybe had the most potential to be weird in an interesting way. And so that is the Argyle's Pineapple Pizza. Now, full disclosure, I did watch, I think, the first season of Stranger Things back in 2016, 2017. Haven't watched the subsequent seasons, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on now, but I enjoyed the first go at it. Fun, nostalgic, horror thriller. It was an enjoyable watch. When it comes to the design aesthetic here, it's fun. It really is that sort of like 1980s in the mall. It's got a lot of thought behind it, I think. Obviously the logo on there, you've got some gold foil, embossing here like you are at the gingham tablecloth of a pizza parlor. You have a little piece of pizza there, and then it's sort of double-sided, the idea of the show branded side, and then just more so the logo of what you would see in the Stranger Things universe itself. I think that was kind of smart in the sense that I think maybe Kent said something where you don't necessarily want something with the characters' faces on it, like a souvenir item. You want something that's more comes from the universe that the characters live within. Notes on this one: baked pizza dough, juicy pineapple, and fresh basil. Now we have had one, maybe two pizzeria fragrances in the past in the Italian Piazza collection, which was in 2013, I believe. You can see my original review here. There's some really great scents now. This is back when they had 12 to 14 fragrances in a really cohesive collection, and there were some amazing scents in there, including Tuscan herbs, the original espresso bar. There was a very nice Sicilian orange in there. There was a gelato fragrance in there. There was a Bellini Cafe candle that was a really pretty kind of grapish, berried Bellini fragrance. And there was the pizzeria candle in there. And it smelled like if you've eaten, combos, pizza flavored, what are they, kind of a pretzel snack? That oregano, tomato powder, let's call it, some heavy Italian seasoning herbs with a little bit of a doughiness factor to it, I suppose, but more so pizza seasoning is what that candle was. And I think that's pretty much what we've got here with a twist. Getting my nose on it, it does smell very reminiscent, although not quite as intense on those Italian seasonings. And there is a bit of that sort of not raw dough and not fully baked bread. When you think of, the most authentic bread fragrance I've ever had was the French baguette, which truly smells like you're tearing into a crusty baguette. With this, there's a bit of that baked dough where it's a bit dry. There's a little bit of flour left on it, and you're tearing into that stretchy, chewy pizza dough. And there is a bit of that here in the background with a fairly heavy hit. Think of that pizzeria candle if you've smelled it before, 60, 70% of that, where you've got those Italian herbs. A little bit less of the oregano. Basil, I suppose that is, they just call out just fresh basil in here. It's not heavy on the basil. There have been some fragrances, specifically the Tuscan herbs, that it was like 90% basil, and you smelled it and it was like you just rubbed your hands on some basil leaves. With this, I believe it is basil because it has a bit of that sort of cooling, kind of licorice aspect that you kind of, the anise scent or flavor you get, the muskiness, almost sometimes like cat pee muskiness that you get from basil, but you're still getting some of those like oregano, the other Italian seasonings dried in there as well, like you're shaking on a pizza. And you do get the sweetness from the pineapple. So that's the interesting thing with the twist here. And it's pretty much the traditional pineapple that's in, pineapple mango and all the other pineapple tropical fragrances of Bath & Body Works, which I'm generally not a big fan of. But it's almost like a pineapple floral, like it's kind of a tropical pineapple in the sense that it doesn't feel like it's pure chunks of pineapple because there's something else almost powdery to it. I would love to get someone who, just is doing like a blind sniff, like a friend or family member. Don't tell them what it is and, have them close their eyes and put their nose on it to say, what do you smell? Because I'd be curious if someone says, oh, it smells like pizza or pineapple. I think it'd be interesting to see what they come up with when they're not led by marketing, right? So it's interesting. It's kind of one of those candles that is I hate to buy things for the sake of buying and holding on to them without burning. I can't imagine wanting to burn this, to be frank. Not that it's bad, but you know, I always say with fragrance, you want it to evoke a mood, moment, memory, space, place, or time. There's not really a mood to this, a moment, a memory. Sure, being a kid in a pizza parlor, that's fun and all, but if I want that memory, that scent memory, that's what taste memory. I want to eat some good pizza. I don't necessarily want my home to smell like pizza the way that you might want it to smell like a beautiful apple crumble or something like you're baking in the holidays, right? So it's strange. It is strange. It's interesting, stranger things, but I'd love to know if anyone out there loves it and has burned it and what they think of it, because it's one that is like, either keep it for collection purposes, but maybe I'll give it away. I don't think I'll return it because that's not my vibe to just review and return, but I'm never gonna say, ooh, I wanna light that pineapple pizza candle, you know? Then to move on to the other one I purchased, which is Steve's Scoops. This is the Stranger Things side, and then Scoops Ahoy. So Scoops Ahoy, okay, nautical theme, fine. You think Chips Ahoy in your head, at least I do, with the blue and, you know, cookies, but this is ice cream, ocean of flavors with your anchor there. They did a nice job with the matching lids, that matte color. I do love their matte matching lids that they've been doing in some collections recently. So decent as far as the overall packaging. Notes on this one: vanilla ice cream, golden waffle cone, and parlor sprinkles. Now we've had some ice cream fragrances in the past, different milkshakes and things that I didn't think were particularly ice creamy. And they've had Ice Cream Shop, which was also vaguely ice cream-like. Ice Cream Shop is a hard one, right? Because ice cream doesn't really have much of a smell. You know, put your nose into a fresh ice cream cone or even like a pint of ice cream from your freezer. Frozen things don't really carry much smell. And so it's really the taste. So it's a little bit tricky to have the idea of, or does it smell like ice cream tastes, which they're generally fruity or chocolatey or candy confection. So the idea of an ice cream candle is a bit tricky. Although there was one that really smelled like ice cream, which was Creamy Dreamy Vanilla, Slatkin & Co.'s Homeworks. We're talking like the 2017 original launch. There was like a fudge candle, there was a caramel candle, and then this creamy vanilla. It actually kind of smelled like a true creamy French vanilla ice cream in a way, because it was so rich. That was very nice, but it didn't have fruit on top of it or cookies or a waffle cone, etc. This is like the full kit and caboodle. And parlor sprinkles. Okay, sprinkles don't really have much of a flavor, let alone a fragrance. They're what, carnauba wax and sugar and artificial coloring. So that's pushing it to say it smells like sprinkles, unless it's one of those sort of artificial candy fragrances. But getting my nose on it, it's fine. I mean, it definitely leans into that artificial. It's getting close to that kind of like that 11 Waffles kind of where it just smells artificial, like a cheap mass-produced food item versus something scratch made, I guess. What's interesting with this, so they're saying vanilla ice cream and a waffle cone. I get more of a spiced background in here, and I'm thinking of two candles. One, I think a couple of reviewers have mentioned, it's got a bit of that kind of berry waffle cone edge to it. I do have one here unlit from some annual sale I'm gonna do a side-by-side on, but I also get a different sort of spice in here. And this reminds me of a fall candle. I think it was one and done in 2015, and it was called Brown Sugar and Allspice. I don't know if I ever actually reviewed it. I probably hauled it. It was similar to a lot of the kind of kitchen spice, vaguely bakery, either a crumble or a streusel, but not a fruit in it, and not as cinnamony, or certainly not red hot cinnamon, but kind of a little bit of nutmeg, or a little bit of allspice, a little bit of cloves, that warming kitchen spices fragrance. And that candle was nice because it had a sweetness, but it was more of a rich, it wasn't caramel, it was more like the molassesy of brown sugar, but it wasn't too thick or heavy. It was really nice. I enjoyed it. And of course, came back never again. It was just that one time that it came out. But I get a bit of that sort of spice aspect, which is I think what reminds me and others of the berry waffle cone. When it comes to the vanilla ice cream, sure, a simple, basic creamy vanilla is in there. Sprinkles, whatever. It doesn't smell like waffle cone. Like for instance, if you go into an ice cream shop or ice cream parlor that does waffle cones from scratch. They're not just purchased and prepackaged, but they actually make them in there. It doesn't smell like that. It's more of a spiced background from like a baked good. But let's get my nose comparing that to berry waffle cone. Of course, you know berry waffle cones. So this is the semi-annual sale in that yellow wax from 2024. Berries, golden waffle cone, and creamy vanilla. There is a similarity to it for sure. This, of course, has a brighter sweetness from those berries, but I've always said it's more of a fall fragrance to me, like a berry crumble, like mixed berry crumble that came out that I reviewed here in my small fall haul, the first of the season, could have just been this if this had never come out as berry waffle cone. Like if this was named mixed berry crumble, that would make sense to me, because this seems autumnal spices, warming, a bit of a crumble aspect to it, not so much waffle, and cooked berries. The comparison between the two, there's something here, this smells almost, it smells stale to me. I'm only noticing when I compare the two, because there's a warmth and a brightness to Berry Waffle Cone, and a similarity certainly with that, again, what they're calling the waffle note, but I'm getting more of the warming spices for it. But there's just something in here. It's almost like a sharpness from almost a clove or something strange like that. There's just a sharpness that you would not expect in a sundae or ice cream cone and sprinkles. So yeah, this is strange. I actually liked it more before I compared it to the Berry Waffle Cone. The Berry Waffle Cone is certainly superior. Still also strange in that it's no real ice cream to it, but the waffle bakery aspect is more authentic and more forefront than I think in Scoops Ahoy. I may burn this one just to see. It could be something that warms up nicely, but it's also not very strong and cold, so I'm imagining the throw is probably not that strong. Lit, though, I could be proven wrong. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the Stranger Things collection, on the marketing side of the collaboration, what you think of these fragrances. Do you love it? I'd love to hear how and why you love it. If you love it, it's not a challenge. I'm just curious because this just is certainly not worth $30, and it's not even for a sweet, whether it's a gourmand in the bakery category or in a confectionery sweetie category, you want to go, oh my gosh, that's so good. I don't do that for this. Do you? Does anyone do that to this scent, to this fragrance? Because I could see someone loving Berry Waffle Cone. I like it. It's not a favorite, but I like it. But this, I don't get it. And I know that Bath & Body Works can do better, and so I just wish they would focus a bit more on the fragrance and a little bit less on the marketing. So, story of a mass-produced corporation with thousands upon thousands of stores, right? So that's what happens. So, love to hear your thoughts, and until next time, take care.